What's up, Jake Paulers? Welcome back to Basically Therapy, the podcast that's basically like therapy, except nobody here has a psychology degree. It's been a week. I did not feel like recording the third episode, so this is now the third episode. I started recording, I was talking, I was just yapping, and then I got a super important email that just like ruined my whole day. Not in a bad way. I just didn't feel like recording after that. So here we are. And you know what? I'm in a space, I'm in a independent creative space where I feel like I can just do that. Especially since there's not many people looking out for these episodes yet. I want to be transparent with everyone. I don't want to make shitty content because I have to. I don't want to feel like I'm trapped in a box. I have to release something every single week. It has to be good because it's so not mentally healthy. I don't have that grind set. I don't have that grinder mentality, you know? It's just not something I can force myself to do, and I'm okay with that. I don't think most people should be able to do that because otherwise everyone would be a rich and famous YouTuber, you know? But I do want to create good content for you guys, and I feel like that involves me not forcing myself to do it, just coming to a point where I am ready to do it. And I feel like that's today. So let's go. Let's get on that grind, baby. But yeah, I have some topics I want to talk about. Of course, that's how we do the show. And I've got my reviews of the week all loaded up, so stay tuned. And here it goes. So first on the docket, new setup. I didn't really like the way that the shot looked before. Obviously, in the last episode, I was super blown out. But this is my office vibe. This is how it looked when I was streaming. I got a cat tree that's covered in hair, and you can see it's torn to shit right there. I got my rock salt lamp. You can't really tell because it's daytime, but it looks cool. And then you can see my Funko Pops in the back. And that's not even all my Funko Pops. So, yeah. New setup. I like it. I feel a lot more comfortable here. Not seating wise, but I just feel like I can talk a lot more here. You know, I don't feel as pressured. But yeah, onto actual topics. Going back to the feeling of like being pressured, feeling forced to make content, I just kind of want to talk about my music career and my unhealthy relationship with music making. I've touched on this in the past in an Instagram post, but I was in a band called Getting Ice from the Fridge. That's where I started music. It was with Zach. Everybody knows Zach Hill, and my old roommate Dylan. It was very fun. We had a lot of fun making music. We did like a band retreat where we just wrote and made a bunch of songs. And it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun. They were just goofy songs, and we were very proud of what we made. You know, at the time, we felt like we were on top of the world. Like, yeah, who cares? Nobody was listening to our stuff, but like we did it. Like we made an album. And we were continuing to make music. And, you know, Zach really wasn't really ever creatively involved that much with the music aspects, which is completely understandable. Learning how to write a song, learning how to play an instrument is absolutely ridiculously hard. like the fact that I taught myself how to play piano and guitar for this, like, blows my mind. I knew a little bit of guitar, but the amount that I had to teach myself to write music, I don't know. I had so much free time. It was ridiculous. But yeah, after that first album, Summer Camp, came out, Zach kind of left the band creatively, which, you know, it was amicable. Obviously, as I've stated, I'm not in a camp of forcing people to do stuff creatively when they don't want to do it. And Zach just didn't want to do it anymore, and I completely understand. You know, there was a little bit of pushback there because Dylan didn't want Zach to leave, and that's okay. You know, I drama's drama. It was awkward, but then it was just me and Dylan making music. And, Dylan and I were very creatively different. Uh, Dylan wanted to make more like comedic songs, and I wanted to make more like actual songs. We found a really healthy balance of our tones together. Cause then we released like 2 more EPs after that. And then we started working on like our magnum opus, our album of the year, which was Pleasure Safari by Getting Ice from the Fridge, if you didn't remember what they're called. And that was a really tough creative experience, because it was just us, and we were planning on releasing so many songs. Like, we had a whole whiteboard full of songs that we were going to release. I think at one point we were thinking about making it a double album, which, if you don't know, is like 20 songs, which, that was a very lofty goal, and I'm glad we didn't do that, because that would have eaten me alive, especially creatively. But I think the songs that we made were very underrated. We made really good music for that album. I think it definitely needed a lot more time in the oven, and if it had, it would have been, I feel like we would have actually gotten some notoriety in the world, But we kind of put ourselves in a box, and I'm not putting any blame on Dylan. He is a very, I respect that he, set deadlines, and he wanted us to get stuff out by a certain time. I feel like we never would have released anything if he hadn't done that. But it also kind of put us in a box creatively, because, we were still learning how stuff worked, especially like software and all that. And I think it forced us to push out some stuff that was not done cooking. And I think that kind of soured me a little bit. I'm not blaming Dylan for that, because I definitely waited too long to start working on some stuff. That's just the way I roll. After that, after we released that album, I felt very comedically, I just felt very creatively drained, and I felt like making music was more of an obligation. So I wanted to take a step back and start working more independently, working on my own music, because I also just wanted to start making more songs that were serious, and I just wanted to make more songs for me, really, like songs that I can take my time on and work on and all that. And after that, I released my own. I think it was after. It might have honestly been before. I released 3 songs on my own. It was Ghost, Cigarette in the Rain, and oh my God, I can't remember. What's the third song? Oh, and October Sky. Those are the first songs I ever produced by myself, and those were created before all the Getting Ice from the Fridge songs. But I just waited so long to actually release my stuff. And I was focusing on Getting Ice from the Fridge stuff. I didn't want to release things at the same time. So these were like my first outings as songs. I did the thing where I set a date that I wanted to release them by. I put as much effort as I possibly could into them, but that really wasn't much, considering I was making them on a laptop on a pirated music making service, and I didn't really know how to play instruments. It was all self-taught stuff, and it didn't turn out how I wanted it. So I think it was like maybe like 6 months later, I re-released the songs. I took them off Apple Music and Spotify, and I re-released them in a form that was like a little bit more acceptable for me. It still wasn't like the best, but I was still proud of it. I still really enjoyed them, especially at the time. I felt like they were like the best things I've ever done. And after that, I set a few more goals for myself, but I didn't want to set a date or anything like that, because I didn't, I was getting more deep into school. I wouldn't really say work was in the way. I didn't really work that much, but I started other creative things, and I also was just kind of getting a lot more depressed. I've definitely been diagnosed with depression and anxiety and all that, and I think after releasing those songs that didn't get a lot of traction, because I didn't know how to promote myself. I didn't know where to put my music to get people to listen to it. So nobody listened to it. So it just made me very anxious and depressed. And I also got a lot of negativity around it just from people in my life. And it just made me feel not good. It made me feel not as good about myself. So, uh, I think that kind of formed this relationship with music for me where I was always trying to improve on my previous stuff. And so creating music became more of like a perfectionist thing than a creative thing, and that only became more true the further along I got with some of these songs. There are songs that I think were releasable at some point, but I got so in my head about them that I just had to change everything. I had to take all the organic instruments out and put computer instruments in and make it all completely syncopated and all that, and my voice has so much auto-tune because I just didn't like the way that my voice sounded on it. It's just like that became true with all the tracks I have, and I have like 200 tracks on my computer, like just stuff that I've started and haven't finished, or I just don't know where I want the song to go. And it became a hobby that just felt so overwhelming. And whenever I would like think a song is going so well, I'm mixing it so well, it sounds good, I like the writing and all that, I will get in my car, I will put it on and actually like listen to it like organically, like how I would come across another song. It sounds horrible, and just that feeling of like I put so much effort into this and it sounds like dog shit. It would break me. It would absolutely break me. I would be done. Like that was honestly the source of a lot of my depression. Where I would be having a great week. I would feel on top of the world because this song sounds so good. I wrote it in like 2 days and it's taken me, a week to find all the writing and stuff that I wanted to do for it, and then it sounds horrible. And I don't know what's wrong. And it goes back to I'm not educated in music. I know how to sing. I know how to kind of pluck stuff on guitar and play piano, but past that, dude, I'm not a producer. I'm not a producer. I've not studied mixing or audio or anything. Like I've done music tech for 2 semesters, but I'm not a music wizard. So then after that point, I did have a little bit of success by myself. Just like I'm not even like I wouldn't even call it success really. I just had a little bit of I just had a song that released and that I really liked, and I still really like. Something's Wrong. I still feel like that's one of my best songs I've ever written. And the difference with that song is that all the instrumentals and all that, it was a sound pack. I didn't make any of the instrumentals except for like the drums. And the drums were honestly the worst part. But I'm not ashamed to admit that I use samples. It makes music making a lot easier, and I used a sample pack that I paid for, so I don't really feel like I was like stealing someone's content. Like, it was Splice. They have a whole program where you can download samples and all that, and it's super nice. It's super helpful. I've made a couple more songs with that, and I feel like they sound really good. I just don't. It's just not ready yet, I really liked the writing on that song. I really liked the way that it sounded. I think the end instrumental is like my favorite. Um, I think other people liked it too. I released it to, or I sent it out to some playlists and they put it on there and it got a few hundred listens, which is a lot for me. Before I got like 200 listens over 2 years on my previous songs. And then this one got like 300, or it got like the same amount in like a month. And that blew my mind. I felt like I was on top of the world. Like, I loved that song so much, but I was also, that song is about not really liking yourself and not really knowing what's wrong with you. And I still feel like that sometimes, and not being able to make friends and all that. Like it it was a very open and vulnerable song, and I still feel like that to this day. But I don't know. I feel like that I want to make more music like that in the future. But then after that, I wanted to go back to my older songs that I've made that I never really finished mixing, never really finished writing and all that, and try to release it and see if I was right, if these songs are actually good and releasable. And honestly, I don't agree with that sentiment anymore. I think the songs that I wrote in the past, they were good at the time, and I feel like if I released them then maybe they'd be good, but I don't think, I think music has moved past those songs that I've written. And I think The Olive Theory is one of those songs. I feel like I released that song out of obligation. Nobody was forcing me into it. I just felt an obligation to myself that this song is so old. I wrote this 3-4 years ago, and I just need to get it out there. And I don't think anybody should ever release a song with that sentiment, that it just needs to get out there. If your song isn't finished, don't release it. If you feel like there's still some work to be done, don't release it, And it didn't help at the time. I was feeling very jealous. I'm not ashamed to admit I was feeling very jealous of other musicians around me who were getting clout and blowing up. And that's also another downfall of my creative career, is I'm a very jealous person. Not like not about a lot of things, but about like success. I see people around me receiving success and it makes me happy for them, and I want to be very grateful and very, proud of them, but there's always that little bit of me that just feels a little bit of jealousy, where I'm like, I wish I was in their place. I wish I could get to that place. Why are they listening to them and not me? And that doesn't feel healthy to me. I feel like a piece of shit whenever I think that. And I'm glad I can look inward on myself and think that. But there's a part of me that's like, if I'm thinking like that, I shouldn't be making music at all. And that's always how I've been. Throughout my entire music career, I've always been jealous of other people's success. And, I feel like maybe that's like, maybe it's good fuel. I don't know. But at the same time, I don't want to feel negative towards people that I respect. I don't want to feel negative towards people that I look up to. Like, and it's not fair to them. Like, I know I'm not outwardly saying shit to them, but it doesn't feel like, it just doesn't feel good. And I don't want to be that person. And it's different for stuff like this, like the podcast and all that, mainly because I don't really know any people around my circle that have a podcast, but it's just different because every podcast is different. But like, music can be so, it can be like the same. Like, you can be in the same genre of music as people, but see significantly less results. And that's just the matter of the business. That's also kind of how I feel about like filmmaking and stuff, especially like writing. I feel like I'm a pretty good screenwriter, and whenever I see people who are not very good at writing see success, it just pisses me off. It just pisses me off, but it's my own fault. I have no one to blame but myself because I'm the one that's jealous, you know? I don't know. I don't really know how to define it, but I just don't like the way that that makes me feel. And I don't like being a jealous person. So not doing it, I feel like since I've slowed down on music, essentially just taken a full on break, I have not felt that jealousy, and it feels really good. Like it feels good. um so yeah, that brings us to right now. I'm not currently working on anything musical. I did write some stuff a couple days ago, and I don't really like it. But that's just making music, baby. Maybe one of these days I'll get back into it, but it's just that routine that I got in where I mix stuff for 3 hours, I go listen to it in the car, and I hate it. And maybe one day when I'm financially stable, I can send my music off to someone to mix it for me, and then I'll feel confident enough in them to have it be made. But as of right now, I don't think it's healthy for me to mix my own music and do that. So yeah, if anybody if any of my musician friends out there have anything to say about it, feel free to DM me what you think would help. I'm honestly not even looking to make music right now. I just actually want to take a break and reset my mind and get me to want to make music again, because I just do not feel like it. And I just don't. I don't know. But part of that also goes back to I have this is kind of different but the same. I have not made a friend since 2020, essentially. I have barely, like, quote unquote, met anyone new since 2020 that hasn't been through, like, Zach or Reagan, my girlfriend. Like, and it's just me. It's just me. I just don't talk to people in public. I don't. Like, when I was going to school, I barely talked to anybody in my classes. And that's just how it was. I've always been that way. I don't know how I ever made friends in the past. I wish I could remember, but I have not made a friend since 2020. And I feel like succeeding in creative arts like music or screenwriting or filmmaking or anything like that, it's about having friends. And I just don't. I have a few friends that I have made before 2020 that are very supportive and helpful and all that. And they try to get me to make music and stuff. But it's just that I don't know how to interact. I can talk to myself on this podcast and seem completely personable, hopefully likable. But when it comes down to it, I have Reagan and I have Zach, and that is it. That is who I talk to. I have 2 Snapchat streaks, and that's it. And it's them. But the crazy thing is that I love them both so much. It's like I don't even want friends outside of them. Like, I don't know. Like, they scratch my itch. That kind of sounds gross, but they do. And I don't know what I would do without them. And the thought of that scares me so much because I don't have anybody else. But I don't know. I've had that dilemma for the last 4 years, and I've been fine with just them for this long. But my God, I feel like I need some friends. And maybe actually having coworkers would help with that. But it's been a long time since I've had coworkers or anybody near me. I don't really go to shows anymore other than the real Zebos. But yeah, I just feel like I need a little reset in my life, and I think taking a break from music for a while is gonna do that for me. Um, yeah. Moving on to other topics. I know that was pretty long winded, but I felt like that was just something I needed to get out there. And, I'm sure there were some people who are watching this that were curious about it. But I just wasn't happy with what I was putting out. And I'm in a state now where I'm comfortable not putting shit out that I don't like. Because if I don't enjoy it, how is anybody else going to enjoy it, I don't know. I've always been the type of person where I make content for me. I make content that I would enjoy, that I would watch, that I'd listen to. And if I wouldn't enjoy it, I don't want to make it. I don't want to release it. I don't know. And I don't want to sound like up my own ass, but I feel like that should be a lot of other people's sentiments as well. Like there's a lot of shitty content out there, especially by independent artists, where if they had just taken more time, if they had just focused harder on the content and the quality of it, then it would sound better, or it would look better, or it would feel better, It's just the rush of feeling like you have to get it out right now. It's just like, just let it cook, dude. Just let the oven sit on for a little bit longer. Like, I don't know. I hope that means something to someone, But yeah, on to the actual topics. That was a topic, but I have other stuff too. I went out last night to the bars. I'm not ashamed to say that I drink. I'm a drinker. I like alcohol. Sue me. But yeah, we've been going out pretty consistently, and when I say we, it's Zach and Reagan and I, obviously, and Reagan will bring some friends along as well. But we went out last night. If you're familiar in Omaha of the Capital District, we've been heading there a little bit more. We used to just go downtown, but Capital District has some new bars and stuff. It's pretty fun. We went to this place called the Roxy with 2 X's. We're going to go to the place next door, the Stuffed Olive. That is my new favorite place. I'm going to gatekeep it though, so I'm going to bleep it out. Not really. But we went to the Roxy, and it kind of sucked ass. It sucked ass. We tried to go there last week, and there was this bouncer there who looked like he was drunk off his ass, and he kind of had a lazy eye, so he was like looking every which way. That's not offense to him. People have lazy eye. I have a lazy eyelid, if you haven't noticed yet. But it was kind of just hard to tell what planet he was on. And I don't know what he was saying. He just checked our IDs like you normally would at a bar. And he's like mumbled something, and Zach was in the back of the line, and he stopped Zach and was like talking to him. While we were walking into the bar, he let us in. And Zach walked up to us after and was like, he just said that there's a $10 cover for $10 each, and we all have to go back and pay him. And then the bouncer just walks up to us and stands there. I was like, oh, okay, I guess we'll just leave, because I will not fucking pay a cover. Call me cheap, I will not fucking pay a cover. I'm already going to pay for my drinks. Why do I need to pay to enter your fucking bar? And it was a Saturday night. Saturdays are usually busier in Omaha. I understand that. But I don't fucking care. I'm not paying your goddamn cover. I will get a 40 from the gas station and drink it at home. That would be more enjoyable than paying to enter your fucking bar. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if that's a controversial take. But yeah, that kind of soured that bar for us, because that was just such a weird, awkward experience. But yeah, so last night we went over to the Roxy. We went back to see if it was any better than the first time, and they didn't charge us a cover, thankfully. And I got a whiskey sour. That is my drink. That is my new drink. It is so goddamn delicious. It's just something. It's like a margarita, but it has that old barrely taste of whiskey in it. It's so good. It's my new go-to drink. It used to be a vodka cran, and then I had a really bad vodka cran, and I was like, no, thank you. Absolutely no, thank you. I'm never getting this again. It tastes like battery acid. So now I'm getting a whiskey sour, but this time, I don't know if it was the sour or she asked if I had a preference on whiskey. And it's the first place that has ever asked me that. So I was like, oh, I guess this place is fancy. So I was expecting it to be really good. That shit tasted like sweet tea, sweet iced tea. There was no sour taste to it at all. It kind of tasted like they mixed water and orange juice and tea together. And I was like, what the fuck? Was someone stealing whiskey out of your bottles and refilling it with fucking Arizona iced tea? Like what's going on here? And I had like Zach taste my drink and he was like, yeah, what the fuck is that? So that was bad. And then they came over and I didn't have time to look at the menu to order a second drink that was better. Because, you know, if a place has a menu and they have drinks on their menu, that's probably what they're prepped for, you know? Just asking for any ordinary drink, you know, you're kind of throwing it up in the air at that point. So I didn't have enough time to look at the menu, and Reagan had ordered a shot, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll just get that. That was ass too. It was like juice and vodka and Red Bull, and it tasted exactly like, have you guys ever had that amoxicillin shit that comes in the like spoon looking syringe? It was like that pink medicine. It tasted exactly like that, and it made me want to throw up. It was more like cherry cough syrup. That's what it tasted like. So bad, ridiculous. And like everybody else, Reagan had two friends with her too, and it was disgusting. Like all their drinks sucked. So we were like, we're just gonna fucking head over to the Stuffed Olive Martini Bar in Omaha. It's new. But don't go there. Don't go there. That's my place. I go there, okay? Or at least you can go there, but leave me a table, please, for the love of God. But yes, we went over there, and it was fine. You know, the seating was a little weird, and my social battery died along with my phone's battery, so I don't know. I just don't know how to interact. I don't know how to talk to people that don't really want to talk to me. So I don't know. I'm just very awkward at bars. Especially like I can't imagine going out to a bar without Zach. Zach and I just giggle and gaff all night. And it's like, if I'm going somewhere, Zach is coming with me because I don't have a social battery without Zach. But yeah, I don't recommend the Roxy. I feel like maybe if they issue an apology to me and they say they're going to do better, maybe I'll check it out. But yeah, that was a horrible experience. It was also 8:30 at night. And 8:30 is a little early for the bar. So maybe it was just like their first drinks that they were getting out, but it was horrible. We are at the time for my reviews of the week, everybody's favorite segment. Let's get it kicked off. I haven't really been consuming a lot of new media. I don't know. There's just a little dry spell for me. I feel like I was watching Succession. I kind of just took a break because I wanted to play video games. So I've been playing a lot of video games this last week. I started, obviously, with Baldur's Gate. If you watched the last episode, I went on and on about Baldur's Gate. So I've been continuing to play that. I will talk a little bit more about it in a little bit. But the new thing that I started and finished was Batman Arkham Asylum. I think it was like 2007. 2007 this came out. Weirdly enough, I have played Arkham City and Arkham Knight countless times. I had never played Arkham Asylum. I don't know why. I always played the demo, but I never got into the actual game. And I think it was just because I was like, oh, it's just in the asylum. You can't fly around and stuff. I don't know why I didn't. I played it on my PC. I downloaded it from Steam, put some texture mods on it to make it look more updated, and it looked fantastic. It ran fantastic. I wish it looked like that on consoles, because for some reason they re-released the Arkham trilogy in like a pack, or the Return to Arkham thing, but they haven't updated them to run at 60 frames per second, which, you know, if you don't play video games, you don't fucking care. But it just makes it look a lot smoother. It makes it run a lot better. And I don't know why they haven't done that yet for consoles. I know they can. My PC runs like a PS5. I don't know why they think it wouldn't work. Excuse the voice crack. As an Arkham City and Arkham Knight and Arkham Origins fan, I really, really liked Arkham Asylum. I can't believe I hadn't played this before. I think the story elements of it weren't really that strong compared to like Arkham City and Arkham Knight, especially Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight was like all story. I feel like Arkham Asylum had like the most vanilla story there could be for Batman, which I mean was fine. I like simple classic stories like that. Like it was honestly refreshing that the world wasn't fucking ending. It was just people were going crazy in an asylum, and it was fun. Like, and it's insane how good the free flow combat system feels with all the combos and stuff. Like it holds up. It holds up if you play it on PC. It does not hold up if you play it on console. That's all I'll really talk about it. I don't know. To give a summary, you play as Batman and you're trying to find the Joker in Arkham Asylum before he, like, I don't know, bombs Gotham City. I think that's what it was about. But yeah, it was a super quick finish. I can't believe how fast I got to the end of that game. I feel like I finished it in like a day. It was like an 8-hour story. I was like, what? But yeah, and then I tried to get into Arkham City again. Dude, I have played that game so much that going back to it, I played like the first 10 minutes and I was like, I can't do this. I've done this too many times. I have literally played this too many times. This is like, it's like listening to the top 40 on the radio. It's just, I can't do it. It's good. I still appreciate it, but it's too old a song and dance to do that again. I want it to live in my head as something that doesn't feel like an annoyance because I've played it so much. That's all I really have to say about Arkham Asylum. Next up is I think I have 2 episodes left of Ted. If you haven't watched it at this point, what are you doing? I mean, that the last podcast episode was 2 weeks ago. If you haven't started the Ted show, come on, dude. Come on. It is so funny. The first episode really, I think the first 2 episodes, it's kind of hard to buy the premise, but by episode 3 and 4 and 5, dude, it is so fucking funny. It is hilarious. Like it is Seth MacFarlane humor at its peak. And I'm just like imagining, like, if this show had come out when like Ted had come out when I was 12 years old, I would have been so obsessed with this show, because I was so obsessed with like Ted and Family Guy when I was 12. If this had come out when I was 12, dude, I would have been quoting this like crazy. I would have been showing all my friends. Like, it's hilarious and I love it. And I honestly, I could have watched 22 episodes of this, like a traditional TV series. I could have watched all 22 episodes and been perfectly fine with it, because it's just so good. It's so good. I really hope everybody goes and checks this out. It's on Peacock. It makes it a little bit less accessible. Peacock sucks boners. But yeah, I really I really appreciate what they did with Ted, and I hope that they continue with it, and I hope they end it before it gets bad. That's what I'll say about that. Right. And then, dude, I have to say, I feel like maybe I'm just not in the mood to watch movies right now because I've tried to watch movies. I just am not feeling it. It's not giving me the same feeling that video games is right now. Like, I don't know. I tried to watch The Adam Project with Ryan Reynolds. I got maybe 10 minutes in. I just didn't like it. I don't know. I thought the humor was like just almost there. Just almost to Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool level, but it just didn't catch me. And my biggest ick with movies is if the pacing is too fast. Like, that works in some movies, but if it feels like I'm just being thrown into the movie and you're not going to explain anything at all, not me, dude. Not going to be there. And also, another thing that gave me the ick about it, dude, kids are not funny. And I don't mean that in an insulting way. I mean that in a writing way. Kids are not supposed to be funny or smart, because they're not, dude. When was the last time you met a kid that acted like he was fucking 38? But the Adam Project, that kid, the writing for that kid, he's making jokes like he's a 48-year-old stand-up. Like, I don't really enjoy the trope of kids taking care of their parents because, I'm sure it happens in real life. But when they write a kid to be way more mature than they actually are, it's just so obvious. Like, a movie like The Florida Project got it completely right, even though that's not really what that's about, but it has that similar vibe. I just feel like in the Adam Project, it was so forced and the writing was not very good. So I don't know. That's just something that pisses me off and I don't enjoy watching it. So when I saw that in the Adam Project, I was like, okay, you have a few minutes of my attention left. If you don't nail this, I'm out. And I was. I don't even remember what I watched after that. I think I just pulled up YouTube. Yeah. Speaking of YouTube, that was my other review. I forgot. H3 podcast, H3 Off the Rails and all that. Absolutely recommend. If you haven't gotten into H3 at this point, what are you doing, dude? I love H3 so much. I've been watching H3 since I was living with my parents in 2019. I absolutely love H3. I've used to watch every single episode of the podcast. I think, back then it was a lot easier to do that, but now they're at probably 300, 400 episodes or something. But they just have such a good production team over there. I love everybody on that crew. I love Ethan. I love Hila. They've had their controversies in the past, but honestly, they're good people and they make good content and they call out shitty people. And recently with their coverage of the Vosh story, I'm not going to go into that because I don't really want that on my channel, but I think they did a fantastic job covering that. And I honestly, I recommend trying to get into it. It's probably going to be a little bit hard. I remember when I tried to get back into it last year, I couldn't because they have so many sound effects going off that I was just confused and all that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what else to say other than they're hilarious. I love the people and the episodes are a little long. I feel like since right now I'm unemployed, I have time to watch the whole episode. But if I was once I get a 9-to-5 job, I don't think I'm going to be able to tune in as much. I'll just be watching the clips. But 4 hours for a podcast episode? Oh my God. But yeah, H3 Nation, I wish I was a part of you, and maybe one day. That's so cringe. Oh my God. All right, that was reviews of the week, everybody's favorite segment, my favorite segment at least. I just wanted to close out this episode with another job update. I've had some movement finally. I'm waiting to hear back from a company. I've had 2 interviews and I think they actually went really well. Hoping they went well at least. Yeah, so I think maybe I'm going to get this job. I really want it. I think I'd be really good in that position. And I feel like I'd be really happy. I'd probably have a lot more to talk about on this podcast too if I got that job. But then I have another one that I'm pretty sure they might be watching this, because I think in one of the emails they referenced this podcast. So I was like, oh shit, maybe I should watch what I say. But that's another job that I would really want. I feel like I would want that job a lot more if there was more hours and if there was a lot more pay involved. But I think it's something I would be very comfortable falling back on if this job falls through. But yeah, it has given me hope that I will not be jobless for the rest of my life. Because God knows I will not be making money off this podcast for years to come. But yeah, I feel a lot more hopeful about myself. I was just getting really down on myself and down on my luck because getting rejected from so many places. I understand I haven't majored in graphic design. I majored in video editing and shit like that. Like, I have a video audio communications degree, but for some reason, all these video jobs that I was applying for, not a single, no contact at all. It was either no contact or an email a day later being like, we're going with someone else. But then the job listings open for like 2 more months. Fuck you. Like, it pisses me off. It pisses me off when they do shit like that. Like, at least email me and tell me, sorry, you don't meet the qualifications, or sorry, you're, if you fix this on your resume, it'd look a lot better. Shit like that. Like, it just doesn't feel fair when they just say, no, thank you. Like, because then it's like, well, what did I do wrong? Why don't you like me? Why don't you like me? I don't know. What I want to say is that it brings me hope, and I hope it gives you a little hope too if you're looking for a job. Just know that the market is so bad right now. Yeah, that's all I really have to say. I hope you guys had a great time. I hope you guys have a great week. I will hopefully see you next week. Yeah. Have a great week. I love you guys. Bye.